Good evening and welcome to Biz RoundUp. I'm Tamiru Nimsat and we at our television bring you a collection of business highlights. Let's have a look at the headlines. President reassures diaspora, plans future tax reductions. European Union backs Sri Lanka's thriving nation vision with major grant. Review on complex post-restructuring debt portfolios. IMF warns Sri Lanka. News in detail. President Anukumar Dissanayake has stated that Sri Lanka aims to reduce taxes as the economy grows during an address to the Sri Lankan community in Japan. The president acknowledged current tax burdens while outlining the government's fiscal roadmap during his official visit.
සමහර අයගෙන් විවේචනයක් කරනවා බදු ටිකක් බරයි. ඒ බදු ටිකක් බර වෙන්නේ මේ ආදායම උපයා ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන එළිය ආර්ථිකේ කුඩා නිසා. එළිය ආර්ථිකේ විශාල වුණොත් අපිට බදු ප්‍රමාණය අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි එහෙම සැලසුමක් තියෙනවා. අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන් ගත්තොත් මේ වැට් බද්ද 18%ක් ඕනෑම පුරවැසියෙක් භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා මිලදී ගන්න යනකොට 18%ක් බදු ගෙවීම මේ තරම් යුක්තිසහගත නැහැ. හැබැයි 18%ක් අය කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තින්නේ එළිය ආර්ථිකේ පොඩි එළිය ආර්ථිකේ කුඩා වුණාම අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා මොකද්ද? වැඩි ප්‍රතිශතයකින් බදු ගන්න. අපේ අයවැය ලේඛන දිසා අපහරලා බැලුවොත් විශාල ලෙස තියෙන හැම අයවැය ලේඛනිකම නැවත නැවත බදු යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම තමයි සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අපි උත්සාහ කරනවා මේවර අයවැය ලේඛනින් අලුත් කිසිදු බද්දක් හඳුන්වා නොදී ඉන්න අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. අපි අපේක්ෂාවක් තියෙනවා තව ඉදිරියට ගියාට පස්සේ සමහර බදු ප්‍රමාණයෙන් අපිට අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රතිශතයෙන් අඩු කිරීම පිළිබඳව කල්පනා කරනවා.
President Anukumar Dissanayake highlighted Sri Lanka's strong bilateral ties with Japan during Sri Lanka National Day celebrations at Expo 2025 in Osaka. The president emphasized the enduring partnership between the two nations during his address at the World Exposition.
ඓතිහාසික ඔසාකා නගරයේ පැවැත්වෙන එක්ස්පෝ 2025 ප්‍රදර්ශනයේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා දිනය සැමරීමට ඔබ හා එක්වන්න ලැබීම ගෞරවයක් ලෙස මා සලකනවා. එක්ස්පෝ 2025 ජාතීන් 150කට අධික සංඛ්‍යාවකට අන්‍යෝන්‍ය මිත්‍රත්වය, සහජීවනීය, සංස්කෘතික විවිධත්වය සහ සෑම සමාජිකම පවතින මානව වටිනාකම් ප්‍රදර්ශනය කිරීමට අවස්ථාව සපයන ගෝලීය වේදිකාවක්. මෙතෙන්දී අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා උරුමයේ පොහොසත්කම පමණක් නොවේ, තිරසාර ශක්තිමත් සේම අනාගතයට සෝදානම් ජාතියක් විදිහට අපගේ පැහැදිලි දැක්මත් ලෝකෙට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. එක්ස්පෝ වැනි ජාත්‍යන්තර වේදිකාවලදී අප සතු ශක්තියන් සහ හැකියාවන් ප්‍රදර්ශනය කිරීමෙන් ගෝලීය ප්‍රජාව තුළ වගවිය යුතු සහ ඉදිරි දැක්මක් ඇති හවුල්කරුවෙකු විදිහට අපගේ භූමිකාව නැවත තහවුරු කරනවා.
The government of Sri Lanka signed an 8 million financing agreement with the European Union to the value of 8 million euros. The grant will be utilized to launch a new initiative aimed at fostering sustainable economic recovery through improved biodiversity conservation and solid waste management. The European Union website says that it will contribute to both environmental protection and improved public health. Accordingly, the government of Sri Lanka will engage in a new initiative aimed at fostering sustainable economic recovery through improved biodiversity conservation and solid waste management. The initiative will focus on 3 provinces, Central, Rural and Northwestern, where it will support biodiversity conservation by restoring degraded ecosystems, implementing targeted conservation strategies, and promoting sustainable land use practices. This project builds on existing EU support to the central and rural provinces to support livelihood development across value chains such as tourism. This project aligns closely with the government's national policy statement, A Thriving Nation, A Beautiful Life, which acknowledges the urgent need to balance economic development with environmental sustainability. The financing agreement was formally signed by Dr. Harshana Surya Perumal, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, on behalf of the Government of Sri Lanka, and Ambassador of the European Union to Sri Lanka, Carmen Moreno, on behalf of the EU. The International Monetary Fund has cautioned that Sri Lanka faces a complex post-restructuring debt portfolio requiring stronger public debt management and continued fiscal discipline. The warning comes in a new working paper assessing the country's debt restructuring process. While acknowledging that Sri Lanka's domestic financing conditions have largely normalized, with treasury bill rates falling to around 8.5%, the IMF stressed that restructuring alone cannot ensure long-term debt sustainability. The report emphasized there is no room for slippage on the fiscal front and called for continued prudent fiscal policies and stronger institutions. The domestic debt operations implemented in September 2023 were credited with alleviating immediate pressures and supporting economic recovery. However, the IMF paper highlighted that Sri Lanka's debt crisis emerged from a combination of policy missteps, including lax fiscal policies and low tax to GDP ratios, compounded by external shocks. The report noted positive developments, including the narrowing of the budget deficit by nearly 55% in the first 8 months of 2025, supported by a 31% rise in tax revenue. Despite these improvements, the IMF stressed that safeguarding hard-earned debt sustainability requires continued vigilance and careful management of the country's more complex post-restructuring debt portfolio. Stay tuned. We will return after the short commercial break. Welcome back after the break. The first biannual report tracking the government's Manifesto implementation shows significant activity in its initial 6 months. The comprehensive assessment was launched by civil society organization at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall recently. According to the report compiled by the March 12th Movement and PAFL, the government has initiated action on 239 promises through cabinet decisions, while 133 commitments were addressed in the 2025 budget. The manifesto itself contains 1,333 specific activities categorized under 4 key areas. The report reveals a significant weighting toward economic reforms, which accounted for 61% of early government actions compared to the manifesto's original allocation of 45.3% for economic matters. The report launch featured analyses from multiple experts, with Dhananath Fernando emphasizing the need for central bank independence and International Monetary Fund program continuity, while Dr. Anushadra Singh highlighted urgent social protection needs for women and children in digital spaces. The statistics provide the first comprehensive snapshot of whether the administration's actions align with its campaign promises across economic, social, governance, and community sectors. SLT Mobitel, which announced its return to profitability in the first half of 2025, also announces that they would take the full responsibility of digitalization of the country's public sector. Accordingly, SLT Group Chairman Dr. Motilal Da Silva said that they had already begun the digitalization process and will be capable of completing it by within a period of 3 months.
This government took a decision to move all that to a central place because we have enough capacity. Our data centers in Pitipana and in other places, we have enough capacity. We can maintain the government networks. So that's the difference. So that way, Sri Lanka can save millions of US dollars. I think it's a noteworthy step taken by this new government. And it's a bold step. I mean, it's not easy. This was not easy. They released prepared RFP. There was a lot of resistance from different quarters. But they moved ahead and we bidded for that. And SLT won it. And now the challenge is for us to move those networks progressively and support the government effort of digitalization.
SLT Group Chairman Dr. Motilal Da Silva also said that using copper for the communication purposes is no more viable, and they have already begun the conversion process of copper to fiber. The group chairman added that the project is planned to complete soon, guaranteeing a clear and smooth service for its client base.
Maintaining a copper network is cumbersome and also costly, and suppliers don't support it. So it had come to end of life kind of, and we have to upgrade it to the fiber, FTTH. So this is a big step, and we are working with TRC on this copper to fiber migration, and it will be done progressively. We'll be identifying areas that we can do it quickly, and so this is also a big step.
Stay tuned. We will return after the short commercial break. Welcome back after the break. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has announced that the Sri Lanka Economic and Investment Summit 2025 will take place on the 2nd and 3rd of December this year in Colombo. Building on the success of the Ceylon Chamber's flagship Sri Lanka Economic Summit, this year's event introduces an enhanced format with a sharper focus on investment opportunities aligning with Sri Lanka's national priorities.
Under the theme Gateway to Growth, Asia's Emerging Opportunity, the Economic Summit 2025 will position Sri Lanka as a prime investment hub amid shifting regional supply chains and renewed momentum for structural reforms. The summit will convene senior policymakers, private sector leaders, investors, diplomats and development agencies for 2 days of high-level discussions on transforming reforms into tangible growth and establishing Sri Lanka as a credible destination for trade and investment. Key discussion areas have been identified as the fiscal policy and economic recovery, trade liberalization and regulatory reforms, public sector modernization and governance, digital transformation and innovation and climate resilience and sustainable development. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce further said that it will also examine how Sri Lanka can strengthen its position in non-traditional markets through branding, standards, logistics and strategic trade partnerships. The keynote address will be delivered by Professor Sanjay Kathuria, who holds a doctorate in economics from the University of Oxford and has over 27 years of experience at the World Bank and a decade at the ICRIER in New Delhi. The panel will feature Ranil Pathirana, Managing Director, Hydra Money Group, Chatura Aberatna, Director/Cooperating Officer, Joint Agri-Product Ceylon, Upendra Pires, Chief Executive Officer, Orel IT, and T. Sayandan, Chief Executive Officer, Sunshine.
The Minister of Science and Technology, Professor Krisanta Bisinu, announced that an internationally recognized national quality infrastructure system will be developed in the future. Minister Bisinu made this statement while participating as the chief guest at the inauguration of the 2-day workshop on regulatory impact assessment and strengthening and developing the national quality infrastructure system. The event was organized by the Ministry of Science and Technology in collaboration with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization with technical assistance from the European Union. Budget allocations have been made for the development of the national quality infrastructure under the Ministry of Science and Technology for the year 2025. This initiative is expected to establish a comprehensive quality mechanism to safeguard and enhance the standards of goods and services produced in Sri Lanka, including medicines and food, while also ensuring the quality of imported and exported products. The NQI framework is structured on 4 fundamental layers: standards, accurate measurements, conformity, and certification. The initial workshop was addressed by UNIDO's Country Program Manager and International Senior Specialist Jairo Villamiltiaz, UNIDO's International Regulatory Reform Specialist Lilia Rodrigo, and several others. The event was also attended by the Secretary of the Ministry of Science and Technology, Mohammed Nawawi, the Secretary of the Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development, K.A. Vimalendira Raja, heads and representatives of ministries and departments associated with the program, representatives of local universities, private sector stakeholders, and many other distinguished participants. Sri Lanka has inaugurated a major climate action symposium, bringing together over 250 policymakers, experts, and community leaders to chart the country's climate resilient future. The 2-day event marks the successful completion of a 7-year Green Climate Front project. The Climate Action Symposium 2025, organized by the Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, showcases the achievements of the Climate Resilient Integrated Water Management Project. The project has transformed water management in Sri Lanka's dry zone, benefiting 1.2 million people across 3 river basins. Key achievements include providing reliable irrigation for 15,000 hectares of farmland, training over 50,000 farmers in climate-smart agriculture, and giving 125,000 people access to safe drinking water. The project has also established Sri Lanka's first digital agrometeorological advisory system, benefiting more than 500,000 people. The symposium aims to share these successful practices and innovations to help replicate the model in other regions. Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya is scheduled to attend the concluding session, underscoring the government's commitment to climate adaptation and sustainable development. With that, we wind up for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Take care and good night.